The Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. I'm your host and speaking coach, Deborah Deras, known as the top Latina peak performance speaker. This podcast is here to support you with strategies and best practices of paid speakers so you can find out what works and what doesn't, so you can achieve success with ease and grace in your speaking career. Enjoy the show. Are you always on the road speaking and your house is all alone collecting dust? Wouldn't it be nice to make some passive income while you are out speaking on the road? Well, I do. Want to know my secret? Airbnb. I use Airbnb to make some extra cash to reinvest in marketing for my speaking business. It's so simple. You just set up a listing and voila, you come home to money in your bank account on top of what you already made speaking. If you want to know more, go to the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast.com to get all the information. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. It is episode 61. I was thinking it was 56, but I was also thinking today was Wednesday. So the quarantine has my brain confused. Can anybody relate? So I'm really excited to be back, and I am sorry that I've been away. It's been very intense, as I'm sure for a lot of you, especially being by myself alone during the quarantine. I know I'm never alone. I'm one with the one. However, as a human being, I was having struggles. I was having challenges, and I have the most amazing intuitive wellness healer coach, equine trauma therapist who was coaching me through it. And guess what? She is here today, and I'm so excited to introduce her in a moment. You can see her, those of you that are live here on video, but I will introduce her in a second. Before I do, I want to give you some gifts. You know, when you do something wrong and you want to make up for it with gifts? Well, I've been missing in action for 6 weeks off the podcast, so I have some gifts for you. I haven't been doing nothing. In fact, I've been creating webinars. Every single Wednesday, I've been doing what's called Webinar Wednesday. And what happens on Webinar Wednesday? Well, let me tell you, I created a webinar called 5 Mistakes New Speakers Make and How to Avoid Them to keep money in your pocket, baby. That's why they call me Debbie Dinero. So you are going to get that. All you have to do is go to my website, which is my name, DeborahDeras.com. I'll type it in the comments if for some reason you don't have it. And then you just sign up for Webinar Wednesday, and you will get that webinar right at your fingertips immediately. And you will be able to learn about how you can get your speaking career kicked off. And I know for some of you, you're thinking, what speaking career? Aren't we on quarantine lockdown? Or we had to stay home? However, this is the perfect time to get all of your keynote speaking topics organized. Perfect time to get your headshots, to get your video, to get all of your ducks in a row. So when things open and we go back on the road, you are ready, my friend. That's what I'm here to help you with. Hashtag lista in Spanish. We say ready. In addition to that, I want to let you know that you can get paid doing webinars. I have started, in fact, right after I leave here, I'm off for a webinar that I'm being paid for. So guess what? Speaking is not done. It's just now more convenient. You don't have to get on a plane, pack a bag. You can do it from the comfort of your own living room. How fantastic is that? But I have to tell you, I still love to travel. And I had the blessing last fall, to be paid to speak in Italia, beautiful Umbria. And I met the most amazing facilitator, the most amazing speaker, and she's here with me today, and her name is Shauna Mayer. And Shauna Mayer is a speaker, equine assisted learning practitioner, and intuitive wellness coach, creator of these amazing cards that we'll talk about. That's going to be a special Connect Deck app. She's the creator of Connect Decks and the host of the Awaken Community Forum, which she's going to talk about, and you're going to want to join and be a part of it. I'm a part of it. So grateful for that. Saves my soul. And Shauna is dedicated to helping others increase their emotional well-being and intuitive ability by providing support and practical tools for recovery and wellness. Please help me welcome my coach, Shauna.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
See, you just hear her voice and you're already calm, right, everyone? She had me with these horses in Italy, and I'm like allergic to horses. I'm not a horse person. And it was just like a transformational experience.
Mhm.
And I think it's so perfect the timing that we're doing this podcast right now,
Yeah.
because one of your expertise is helping people deal with trauma,
Mhm.
and how that is your expertise. Can you talk to them or let them know how you got into this field?
Sure. Well, I got into it rather organically, rather than taking the academic route. I'm not a psychologist, but I worked for over a decade in federal corrections in Canada here in our prison system. And I was working mostly with women. And these women were some of the most traumatized women in our country. The trauma they had been through their whole life, also being arrested, being in prison. And my role was spiritual care. So I was in chaplaincy and I did a lot of recovery and addiction support and healing and reintegration. But what I found was because of their traumatized state, it was really difficult for them to build their life back once they got out of prison. And so I started to focus solely on trauma healing because it, to me, was the necessary piece that had to be there for them to succeed. And while I was working with them over that decade, I initially saw myself as separate, like I didn't have all of those experiences. I had never been to prison. The word trauma wasn't even something I used to describe my own life or my own experiences. But what I began to see more and more in working with these women is they were no different than me and
Right.
all women. Their needs were just magnified a little bit more. Their traumas had been a little more extreme than mine, but I actually realized the trauma I had experienced and had been affecting my ability to love myself, to take care of my kids, to have healthy relationships, to manage stress. All of these things were getting in the way of my happiness as well. And so I turned the focus onto myself and I started this 10-year journey healing my own woundedness. And I did that through creating a set of emotional awareness tools. I also did it by connecting with horses, and that's really what led me to meet you, Deb. And it's what really brought my healing to a complete place where then I was able to go and share it with others.
Yeah, I love what you said about the women being just like you, because as
Yeah.
a speaker, I spoke at a juvenile detention center. I spoke
Mm.
at a probation center. I spoke at a place where they like had an armed guard to protect me from the boys because they were locked down. And one of the things when I was speaking is I realized we all just want the same thing, to be loved. And when I
Absolutely.
looked at them, I didn't look at them from a place of judgment and what did they do. I looked at them and like, I believe in you, I love you. And like all their meanness, whatever anger they had, like melted like butter in a frying pan, because that's all they ever wanted from their mother or their father, to be. That's why they joined the gang, to be accepted, to fit in, to belong.
You're
Right.
right. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And so that's beautiful that you were able to see that because so many people, I think, believe that punishment and harsher penalties and longer prison sentences are what are going to help people. But it's the opposite. It's not to say people aren't accountable for what they do, but to understand that that level of pain and desperation comes from trauma, from poverty, from not having family love and support growing up. And so a lot of the work I did was help people to reparent themselves and learn to be that presence for themselves, that safe, accepting, validating voice. And so I do that through the Connect Deck cards and also through coaching.
which
So
which I have by my side. And
yeah,
I know this wasn't in our script, but I do want to talk a little bit about it, because
yeah.
those of you, because we're still in this um, quarantine, a lot of us are having to stay at home more than we might like, and there are feelings and emotions that come up like frustration and sadness and irritation, whatever. Can you talk about how these cards work to be able to transmute those emotions so that you can healthy self-care with yourself and not be so anxious?
Absolutely, yeah. So I needed to learn how to connect to my emotions myself first. I had a real hard time managing my emotions, and found that my clients also struggled with that. And so, what ConnectX do is it's based in what's called nonviolent communication by Marshall Rosenberg. So I want to definitely give credit because he sort of inspired me to make this deck. And basically, it teaches people how to connect to their feelings instead of running away from their feelings, actually going right into them in a safe, structured way. So I have a step by step process, and it's 3 steps, and it leads you through how you feel about something that's really bothering you, what you need to feel better, and then teaching you how to connect to your intuitive knowing. So your inner wisdom. And that's the part of you that is untouched by trauma. The higher, wiser, people may call it our higher self or the source within us, but whatever you want to call it, that part of you has not been damaged, it's not been traumatized. And so I teach people how to weave their way through becoming more emotionally aware, not being afraid of their emotions, and then connecting to your intuition, which is got all the answers for you and going to help you navigate through whatever.
So are you saying that like your ego or the self that you identify with is the one that experienced the trauma, but your higher self, like your intuitive
Yeah.
guidance, has not?
Well, the ego is what protects us.
Right.
So there's no judgment in behavior that, might be protective in nature. So the ego, when things happen in our lives, we create a bit of a shell around us. Maybe if we had a lot of criticism growing up, we might find as adults when we're criticized, we kind of overreact, or we freeze or we pull back. Well, that's the ego protecting us because as kids, we needed that protection.
Right.
So it's never, the approach I take is never one of judgment, or it's saying, you know what, all that stuff was useful to get you where you are today. Now that you're an adult, let's see if we can create a few more skills and a few more pathways for you to navigate through situations where maybe they don't affect you so strongly, and you can really see and hear the person in front of you instead of being affected by all of that past woundedness.
Right. Because they're like triggers for us.
They are triggers.
And it's really important to talk about this. And then we'll get into the speaking part because, and I don't know if it's the same with Canada, but here in the United States, they're saying that alcohol consumption, addiction, domestic violence has gone up since the quarantine.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Because as humans that haven't learned how to self-parent, like most of us, if we are feeling an emotion that could be uncomfortable, like fear or anger or frustration, or even uncertainty, which we're all in right now, no matter what we want, what political affiliation we're in, uncertainty, and there's a tendency to want to numb that. And what you teach is how to go into it.
Right.
But not stay in it. Not people are scared like me, like to go into it because you think, oh, then I'll be anxious and then I'll be depressed. No, it'll pass through you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my approach is that feelings are our greatest allies, and even the uncomfortable ones. And actually, I would argue that the uncomfortable ones are the most valuable to us. And I teach a way of interacting with them and befriending them. That was actually my topic on the Awaken Community 2 weeks ago, was befriending difficult emotion. And when we learn how to do this, and it's easy to learn, it's not hard. You've learned it. You're a pro at it now. When we learn that, we start to see that all our feelings are messengers that are speaking to us and telling us what we need. And if we pay a little more attention, if we give them the floor, not only are we safe because it's coming from us, we're generating these feelings. It's not like they're coming out of nowhere. But we can learn from them and we can allow them to speak to us. And as you said so perfectly, pass through us. They're not who we are. We are not our feelings. They are just something that we're experiencing. And if we notice them and we don't try to push them away, they pass so much quicker and so much gentler.
And what I learned from you is like our emotions are kind of like a teapot. And if we allow them to be expressed little by little, like a little whistle, then it's cool. But if we don't, and this is why I was having panic attacks, we explode with emotion because they're bottled up inside. And it's like the whistle goes off on the teapot and it's like, I'm scared.
Yeah,
Right.
that was my experience too before I learned this. So it's very common, and we weren't taught. I don't think many of us growing up were taught how to forget like just describe our feelings. We were taught that feelings are not okay. Feelings in my house, I had loving parents, but they did not understand. I was a highly sensitive child. I needed support and nurturing, and I was made to feel that my feelings were wrong. And feelings are never wrong. And so we're relearning, we're retraining ourselves. And again, it's not our parents' fault because they didn't have that consciousness or that training growing up either. But we're learning more, we're evolving, we're growing, and we're realizing the importance of emotional awareness and connection. And I think we're all moving into a more emotional and way of living. And it's beautiful to see. I'm seeing it happening in so many places. So the more we can learn and equip ourselves and get support, the less overwhelmed we're going to feel and the less we'll need to distract ourselves or avoid our feelings.
Exactly. And what you teach, and we could talk about this in the Awaken Community, is once you can identify your emotion, then you also identify what you need. And like maybe you need, like I realized I needed social interaction and maybe I couldn't have physical interaction, but I needed to call a friend and get on the phone or get on FaceTime. Or we need to feel nurtured and we don't have to do it with wine. That was my brain. We could do it with a meditation, like listening to Shauna lead you in a meditation or doing some breath work or getting a bike ride outside or going for a walk. Like there's other ways we can nurture ourselves without going under. We could go through, right?
Exactly. Under every feeling is a need. And under every uncomfortable feeling is usually an unmet need. So a need that we aren't even aware we have. And that's what the cards, and that's what we do on the Awaken calls, is we help find ways to get connected to those needs that we maybe aren't aware that we even have. I know for many years growing up, I was so consumed by other people's needs, by my kids, by my partner, by my clients, the women in the prison. I didn't even know what I needed or wanted.
Right.
Because I was just so, involved in other people and people pleasing. And so if that's a challenging area for a lot, I know a lot of people struggle with that. It's a way to help you get clear about what's yours and what's theirs and take the weight off of yourself. It's like you don't have to carry everybody else's.
Exactly. And then once you understand your need and you can express it and ask for what you need, you're going to improve your relationship, not only with yourself,
100%.
your higher self, but with everybody around you, with your family, with your friends. Your relationships are going to improve. Oh my God, I have a million more questions for you. Let me move on. I'm sorry. So we're talking about this before we get into the speaking. Hi, Lillian. Hi, Amanda. All of our Italy crew is here.
Hi,
Lillian. In the house. Hey, all the people from our Italy conference are here. That's so awesome.
Hi guys.
They're supporting us. That's so sweet. So the Awaken Community, which I didn't even know about until you brought it to my attention, that I can't believe how awesome it is. Can you tell people what that is? Because those of you that are speakers out there and are not on the road speaking either by choice or by preference, there are other ways that you can get your message out into the world and be that messenger to transform lives. And one of the ways Shauna is doing this as a speaker is by having a community that she speaks in. Talk about the Awakening Community.
Sure. So the Awakening Community is my membership club that I've created where I offer 2 live coaching calls a month, and it's just on a conference line, so it's not even video, so you don't have to do your hair or be seen by anybody.
God,
yeah, it's audio connection, and it is live, and we can chat to each other. And these are for people who are coaches or healers or teachers themselves, or people who are just looking to increase their emotional awareness and their intuitive abilities. And every call is only 45 minutes long. I record them. So if you can't make it live, you get access to a library of all the replays. And it helps us to build more awareness and more skills in these areas so that we aren't so affected every day by the stuff that we're talking about here, by the emotional dysregulation or the not knowing what you need. We are 100% for that whole 45 minutes focused on you, and you take whatever you're going through at that moment into the call, and I take you on a guided journey with ConnectX. And if you don't have ConnectX, I send out an email of just a chart, which is all you need, just words, feeling words, and you follow them. But we're doing this right now with the COVID situation going on. I'm doing bonus calls, so I'm actually getting calls every week. Typically, the calls are every other week, so twice a month, and it's just been an incredible way to.
And how can they sign up for it?
They can just go to my website. It's right on my homepage, the Awaken Community. You can click, and it's $15 Canadian a month. So I don't even know, what is that, $2 American? I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's like 11 or 13.
Yeah, it's a minimal fee, but I just want people on.
Amazing. So like doing the processes, like so much of my anxiety and like what, we're all dealing with, it just like dissipate. I'm like, oh, I just needed to nurture myself. I just needed some self-care because your voice is so soothing. Like within the first 2 minutes of just listening, I'm like in a trance. I'm like, la la, I feel good.
And my dear friend Lisa Burchartz, who's my co-facilitator in a lot of.
Oh, that's her beautiful voice. I love her voice.
She leads us in beautiful guided meditations. She's Australian, so she has this beautiful Australian accent.
Oh, I love both.
So Lisa and I together, we offer those twice a month, and everyone is welcome. So we'd love to have anybody join.
And so tell them about the conferences that you started to do, because as speaker, we could speak at other people's conferences, but we can also create our own, baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I was invited last year to speak at the Mind, Body, Spirit conference in Toronto. And Dr. Shefali Sabari was the keynote. She's been on Oprah. She's an amazing psychologist that blends Eastern and Western therapies together. And I was offered to run a workshop there to teach, they were all psychotherapists at this conference, how to use ConnectX in their practice. So to connect better with their clients, to give their clients tools to go home and practice and use. And I had dozens of them after come approach me and say, like, do you run workshops? Can you come to my organization and teach my group how to use these tools? They're amazing tools. And so I started to think, like, maybe I should just start running my own conferences. And so last October, I ran the first Intuitive Wellness Conference. I basically just walk people through emotional wellness and intuitive connection and how to blend those two things into your practice, your coaching business, if you're a teacher, any kind of helping professional. And coming this fall, we're going to be offering it live stream, so it'll be a virtual.
Oh, I can go! Yeah,
well, I'll send you the details on that, and then the app, which you have been instrumental in helping me to create. There will be an app ready very soon, so we won't need physical cards. We can just use the app, and that will help us go through the 3 steps.
These are the physical cards, but now she's going to have an app, so it's going to be on your phone. You can transmute your emotions, get your needs met, and feel at peace even during times of uncertainty. What a great...
And it's a process, so it's something we learn, and my YouTube channel is going to have a lot of tutorials and teaching people how to use the app. It's a relationship as well as a tool. As right. you know, when I do coaching sessions with people, there's a lot of like just mentoring people in how to build this skill. And so you won't be alone. This app is very interactive in that it's meant to be done in community, either on the Awaken calls or through my tutorials that are coming. So if you go to my website and go to the ConnectX page, you can read a little bit about it, and it's coming soon.
Okay, good. I can't wait. I'm so excited. And doing a conference is no simple thing, because I used to put on... I used to put on career expos, and it's like you have to get the venue and then deal with exhibitors and sponsors and registration. How did you overcome the challenges of putting on this conference and to make it worth doing again?
Okay, well, I have to say, through collaborating with other people who can help me.
Synergy.
My sister-in-law, Keelan, is a fabulous virtual assistant. She is the most incredible organizer and administrator that I've ever met. And I enlisted her help to help me because all things technical overwhelmed me. I had never run a conference, collected money, none of those things. And so she has helped me incredibly. And I just believe moving forward, I think this is the new way for us to bring our gifts out into the world, is to collaborate, to find people we know who have the skill set we don't.
Exactly.
We don't have to learn everything. My gift and my ability is people. I love people. I want to help people. I want to support them. But these kinds of things need an expert. They need somebody who knows how to organize, how to work, registration, communication, social media. I've learned so much from you about. So collaborating has been really how I made that a success. Yeah.
That was the exact thing that helped me, because the first year of the conference that I did, I was like crying in the bathroom and I was like so stressed out and just emotionally depleted. And then the next year I had committees and I'm like, okay, there's a competition committee, a sponsor committee, and I had about 50 volunteers that like made all the difference in the world. They were from a college and it was like the only way to do it. But I just want, for those of you that are listening, and that was like my hesitation to do the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast, because I was thinking, does anyone want to be a paid speaker right now? But I want you to think not about the temporary situation that we're in. I want you to think about the message that you have. Like when you hear Shauna and you know that like Marianne Williams says, your wound is your gift, and that the challenges you had being a sensitive child and reparenting yourself taught you to be sensitive, compassionate, and empathetic, work with the horses, work with people to be able to really express themselves. And those of you that are listening, you have a gift, a talent, and you can express it. It doesn't have to look like being a keynote speaker on a stage. It could be facilitating retreats like Shauna does. It could be doing a membership program like Shauna does. It could be facilitating your own conferences or small groups like Shauna does. So I thought Shauna is a really great example of a different way of having your speaking career that works for your personality. Not everybody needs to be the sage on the stage. You could be the guide on the side, right? I just made that up. Allow the greatness of your audience, but in a more intimate setting, because that's what you enjoy, right, Shauna?
I love that. That's where I'm most at home. So you've got to be authentic to who you are and shape your business around your unique signature, your unique energy. We all have an energy signature. Yours is vibrant and joyful and encouraging. Those would be the words I would describe yours. But everyone has one, and when you can figure out what that is, we don't have to start trying to cram ourselves into other boxes. We can create the jobs of our dreams because they're really coming from our true core self.
Exactly. I'm just telling people in the comments they want to join your community. Once again, to join the community, which I love being a part of, you can go to shaunamayer.com, literally for the price of a Starbucks breakfast or whatever, $11 in the United States money, you get weekly audio. And they're not just lectures, they're transformational processes that when you come out of it, your DNA and your cells are different because you're activating your emotional awareness and your intuitive connection. And when you do that, you learn the skills to reparent yourself, to let your emotions up and out and through, and then you experience freedom. Freedom from anxiety, freedom from fear, freedom from everything. So I'm so grateful that you had a chance to come on the show. Toronto, my sisters on the line, Lillian and Amanda. We'll be back in Italy. Don't you worry. We're going to be back on the road.
Yes,
we'll be back. We're not gone from our international speaking, right, Shauna?
No way.
No way. Nothing can stop us. We'll be back. Or maybe we'll go to Greece. We don't know. Next year, we're going to be there. 2021. I have no idea what day it is, what year it is. Like, are we in 2019? So thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. Please share this broadcast. If you can, sharing is caring, so we can get Shauna's work out into the world. This episode of the podcast is going to be broadcast on iTunes and Spotify and SoundCloud, and it's going to be on YouTube. So we are getting your message of awakening our planet to the masses. And I'm just so grateful and thankful for your presence in my life, for you being on purpose, and just all that you do to help us to align for success. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And make sure you follow her at shaunamayer.com. Get on her email list so you can be notified with the app. And thank you so much for tuning in. Like I said at the beginning, I do have a gift for you. I'm giving away the 5 mistakes new speakers make and how to avoid them. You could download it right at my website, which is deborahderasnow.com. And if you go to Webinar Wednesday, you can download that webinar, many other webinars. And if I can support you with a clarity coaching session, you can reach out to me to be able to assist you. And we have 61 episodes of the Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast. You can listen to them all right at Be a Paid Speaker Now podcast.com. I want to thank you so much for listening, for tuning in, for spreading the word, for giving great reviews on iTunes. And remember, you are a messenger for a very important message, and that with the power of synergy, like Shauna said, anything is possible. Ciao. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.